What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful.com. We are your destination for wrestling, MMA, boxing news, whatever it may be. We got it there for you. And we've got WrestleMania 36 Night 1, a very unique circumstance that we have here. But it is a circumstance nonetheless, and I got to say, I am very excited to talk about this show. I am very excited that we have the opportunity to cover this show. I want to say, first off, I don't think that a lot of these people should have been put in the position they are, but I'm very grateful that they made that risk and we were able to be entertained by WrestleMania. Let me go ahead and get the intros. To my, I guess he'd be your right, if you're looking at the screen, Mr. Warren Hayes. He is on the post-SmackDown show and the Wednesday Night War show. You can check him out at youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. To my left, Alex Pawlowski, former associate editor at Fightful.com, now hosts Sour Graps and is on the Wednesday Night War podcast as well. Alex, you got seniority here. Your first words about WrestleMania 36, Night 1.
You know how they always say, can they just build the whole plane out of the black box? Can they just build the whole WrestleMania out of the Boneyard match? That's what I want. I want just Boneyard match for 3 hours tomorrow. Just keep it going. Let's do this. More Metallica in my WrestleMania matches.
Reminder, guys, if you want to help us out, leave a thumbs up. If you're watching live on youtube.com/Fightful, subscribe, tap the bell for notifications. We are one of the leaders in breaking wrestling news in the world. We have post-show podcasts. We cover virtually every show on cable if you include our premium service that I'll tell you about a little bit later on. But we've got Mr. Warren Hayes here as well. And you know what? He or Alex or myself will answer your question or read your statement on the air if you donate a super chat live at youtube.com/Fightful. So go ahead and do that. Help us out a little bit. Warren, how do you feel right now?
Well, yeah, I'm also going to start off with an analogy, sort of like Alex did. When I was much more of a comic book reader, I was really into those what if comic books. And I feel that's kind of what we live tonight. What if we had an entire wrestling card, a big one, that happened in front of no one? How would that turn out? And it was an experience. I really think it's something ultimately we had to go through to get a better understanding of where, if this were ever to happen again, what should happen next? I mean, there's a lot of possibilities opening up. We're going to get into the nitty gritty, but as an experiment, this was fascinating.
It was. I'll take the super chat from Hannah Moore as a pretty good example. The Taker Styles match proved that they can do creative, fun, different things. That was so much more than I expected, and I loved it. So a few weeks ago, if you subscribe to FightfulSelect.com, that is our premium service. It's the most direct way to support us. We post exclusive news there almost every day. You got Alex reviewing Raw and SmackDown there. I'm doing exclusive news podcasts there, Q&As. I said that one of my WWE sources had told me right after WrestleMania got moved to the Performance Center that they were doing something outside the box and cool. And I was like, well, is it cool to Vince McMahon or is it just cool in general? I think we got the answer that it's cool in general. Because this leads me to a level of excitement for tomorrow night as well. Because you got Bray Wyatt and legitimate actor John Cena in a Firefly Funhouse match where this might be that way too. But make no mistake, there's no reason they should not have been doing this 3 years ago when Matt Hardy was there too. Throwback 27, I see your super chats and we will get to them as each match happens. But another highlight of this show to me, which we'll tackle, he says, Braun winning has to set up 2 matches, The Fiend or Roman as their opponent. Wait till I tell you how I took in the Braun Strowman Goldberg match. I am very excited about that. Reminder, when you donate your super chat, we will get to them as we approach that segment. Sean Murray says it took a pandemic to make them get creative. In this aspect, yes, but also if this were in front of a crowd, Warren, I don't think they could have done the Undertaker styles like that because they have to please 70,000 people.
Well, remember when they tried to do that with the House of Horrors match? Because that was essentially it. There was a part that happened in the house effectively, and then they brought it back into the arena, which is necessary. You don't want to have paid a WrestleMania ticket to sit in the audience and watch a movie, essentially. That's not what you're there for. Yeah. Of course, they bring it back into the ring, and we all remember how that went down. Not necessarily the best outcome.
DJ Cass was not sold on this WrestleMania. He sends a super chat and says, let me go ahead and get this out of the way. I thought tonight's show was fine, but I don't ever need to see WrestleMania look like this ever again. If you mean by no fans, sure, that's not ideal. Nobody ever wants that. But I really, really enjoyed tonight's show. And not just that, Alex, but how many marathon WrestleManias have you and I covered? I think three of them have been marathons. And I was excited for tonight and stayed excited until we went on the air.
Yeah, I'll always take a tight 3.25 hours, 3 hours of WrestleMania like that. Moving on, like this. But the thing to me is like this is what a 3-hour Raw should be. Like It should be this entertaining. 3 hours, fill it with stuff, as opposed to 3 hours of mostly crap. This was fine. There were a lot of things in tonight's show that I thought were just like odd choices, lazy booking or whatever, but I would absolutely take tonight and what I assume will be tomorrow night split into two, as opposed to an 8.5 hour extravaganza. Like I can't imagine sitting through one of those again.
Yeah, I completely get you there. Tim Traver talking about what WWE should do for some of their upcoming shows. He says they just should show some of their old matches from the 90s. I mean, they're already showing them from the 2000s, so I don't think we're that far off from that at all. Maddie B. Wrestling said, today was supposed to be the baby shower of my first newborn. Congratulations. He said, the show was made me forget how depressed I was for a few hours. Thank you, WWE, and you guys. Hopefully we get it back to normal soon. Anakin says, still wish we had TakeOver, but this was a good sub. I thought so too, and I think that having a top-level NXT match on every Wednesday for a while is also a pretty good sub. But let's go ahead and get into this show, because we got to talk about the matches at some point. Keep sending those super chats. When we get to the segment that you talk about, we will talk about those. Corey Graves and Rosenberg are on the pre-show. The highlight of this pre-show was the Miz and Morrison rap video, in which Corey Graves said he loved. And when Rosenberg doubted him, Graves said to Peter Rosenberg, who is a host on Hot 97, what do you know about hip-hop music, Rosenberg? Mm-hmm. Other than that, I love the amalgamation of the America the Beautiful performances.
Yeah.
Chris Warren Band, conspicuous by their absent, R.I.P. But Stephanie McMahon welcomes us to WrestleMania. Now, Jeremy Lambert put together a compilation this week. Warren, were you surprised to not hear the term smiles on faces during this?
I really was. Because when I saw Stephanie McMahon appear, I was like, okay, there we go. It's buzzword central. Here we go. But it was fine. I don't know. It's Stephanie, and it's what she does. But yeah, there were no smiles on people's faces. Go figure.
Callum Williams says, showing Fightful some love. Love all the shows, guys. Keep it up. Thank you so much. I'll run through some of our shows soon enough. But Roman Reigns was still in this Mania intro.
Yep.
Yeah, and somebody asked on Super Chat, they said, J.K. Schwal says, how does Warren feel that Roman's contract signing weeks ago was all for nothing? What good is that contract, Warren?
Well, once again, in fact, you know what? It just proves that contract signings are absolutely pointless and useless. They can sign. They make the matches before signing the contracts anyway, and then when they do sign the contract, the wrestlers pull out. Oh, I don't think I'm going to do the show. Okay, fine. What are they for? No, it's fine. But of course, this is all in jest because I support Roman's decision to not do this, considering his health, his issues. Of course, I supported it. I'm just playing the part.
Something that you and I have never actually been able to talk about, Warren. I wanted to get your take on this. Now, AJ and Undertaker, they signed the contract for the match. And then the next week, AJ changed what the match was to a boneyard match. Don't they have to then do a new contract signing? I mean, you got to get the boys in.
I think
legal on
MLW
this right away.
set up these contracts, and that's why they're not worth anything. That's what's going on.
That must be.
And
You're
please,
right.
Alex, if you put that out into the universe, it's going to happen. No, thank you. I've got enough. I don't want paperwork on my wrestling shows. Thank you very much.
The person also said, I hope Goldberg claims it's BS since he signed the contract for Roman.
That's true.
So I don't know if you all saw my tweet, but I don't know if there was something about it being a Saturday, because I haven't watched a WWE show at about 7-ish on a Saturday or a weekend in a long time. Like, Sundays just feel different to me. So I was ready during every package for it to go, are you ready? Are you ready for a good time? Then minutes later, we get another AC/DC track.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. I sound so much like the lead singer, we're probably getting hit with a copyright claim right there.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably getting hit with the copyright. We have gotten hit with one for the Booker T sample, because somebody who used that sample to remix the song like a year and a half ago has an auto claim for it. So I've had to fight those nonstop lately. But we get Gronk doing a pretty solid Gronk intro. Mojo Rawley joins him, but I was very shocked, Alex, at how little we saw Gronk.
Honestly, I thought they were going to replace Elias with Gronk.
Me too. So did I.
And have Gronk beat Corbin in like 15 seconds. Like, I was shocked when that didn't happen. So, yeah, I'm completely shocked that they had Gronk just stand up there to like, hey, everybody, I'm Gronk. I'm going to make a joke about how many times I have sex with ladies. Anyway, here's Mojo. Bye. Like, I don't know. Like, that's just a weird. He's the host, I guess. He's the host.
And I thought we were going to see more of him, because later on, R-Truth shows up and Gronk tries to win the 24/7 title. Is this technically his first match? Technically? Because Mojo thwarted him and then won it. But I thought we were going to get some follow-up there, Warren.
We're going to have to follow this one closely on Cage Match.
They don't put those on there. And unless their
well,
title changes, they only put them on there.
Well, there was a title change, so maybe it was a triple threat. Maybe it was a triple threat. We don't know. Well, listen, it was very interesting to me that they hyped up the arrival of John Krasinski tonight to the program to host, where he essentially just did the introductions behind those obnoxious shades and that dollar. You know, if it wasn't for his logo on it, I'm pretty sure it felt like he asked Mojo, "Hey, you have a jacket for me, buddy?" And Mojo just went like to the shit he was wearing like 3 years ago and pulled it out. And that was it. But it's also very classic WWE fare to really put emphasis on, hey, we're having this guy, and then barely use him. It was what it was. It's fine.
We get a super chat from Anakin saying, anyone else think the green screen looked bad tonight at the pre-show? Yeah, it looked real bad.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it looked just real lame, man. But we also see later on Paul Heyman cutting a promo on Drew McIntyre. I thought that was fair. You build up to the next night because, quite frankly, there's going to be a lot of people that watch this that wouldn't normally be watching this that are like, oh, wait, they're doing another one tomorrow, huh? And you got that covered.
Yeah.
But then I wanted to get all that stuff out of the way so we could get to the matches. Cesaro defeated Drew Gulak on the pre-show, and this match was quick, and it ruled. This is Cesaro's first ever singles match at a Mania besides the Battle Royal, Gulak's first Mania match ever, and I thought it was a good one. This one was a really good example, Warren, of the pace that we were about to see. Because you know what we didn't see a lot of? Slapping on a chin lock and sitting there for about 30, 40 seconds.
Which was kind of what I was expecting for the Baron Corbin match, and thankfully that didn't happen.
I thought it was going to happen in Becky and Shayna too.
And it didn't happen. No, it was fine. Look, I mean, I'm a hungry boy. I like me talented wrestlers wrestling with talent. So of course I look at this match and I'm like, why didn't this last a little longer? Why didn't we get a little more? So I'm a little, but that's okay, right? It's like P.T. Barnum said, it's all, always leave them wanting more. So I want more Drew Gulak. I want more Cesaro. And as a Drew Gulak fan, I'm kind of disappointed he didn't win. because he hasn't done anything of interest, or at least to solidify the fact that he's this player coach type character that they want him to be, giving Daniel Bryan tips to win matches, whereas he's losing right and left. Then again, it's typical WWE fare to bring in someone, give him like what looks to be a push, but then cool him down.
Well, I think Alex will be able to relate to this a little bit. Players aren't always the best, or coaches aren't always the best players, and vice versa. Some of the best coaches did not have successful careers, and I think that Daniel Bryan recognizes the value of Drew Gulak, and that's what I like. In the match, we saw some super great transitions early on. They slugged it out. Everybody was working snug tonight, and there were a lot of camera cuts early on. I didn't notice them as much later on, but like in the following match, I saw Kyrie really laying in stuff. And I'm like, you don't need cuts there. You can hear her making contact. And they had to, because there's no crowds to cut to. There's no extra audio. So they had to make it sound like it hurt. And they went from strike to submission attempt, European uppercuts. And Alex, I think my favorite part was Cesaro couldn't win with a neutralizer. So he's like, you know what? I got something else. How about the UFO? We're going to bust that one out. And he does the UFO and wins it. I love this.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought the ending was kind of abrupt. Like,
sure,
Gulak looked great through the entire thing. Like, he was countering everything. Like, he looked like he was the actual technical whiz. Like, even out-dueling Cesaro, which we all know to be a great technical wrestler. And the UFO was fun to see, but I was not expecting it to get the pinfall.
Sure,
like that didn't look like a high impact maneuver at all. And so it was kind of weird to see Gulak lose to that particular thing. I liked the psychology of him not being able to use the shoulder to get the neutralizer, but I thought maybe they were going to have him tap out to some kind of submission maneuver or something. I'm not sure.
There were about 4 odd finishes back to back, and I saw that Eloquent had mentioned that a little bit ago as well. He said hated the first 4 minutes or first 4 matches finish, especially Shane and Becky, but loved that they split to 2 nights. I'm really going to go in on some of these finishes and like explain the particular issues I have, because many of them should have been avoided. But this match was good. I thought Cole called the hell out of this match by himself.
Yep.
He was calling the moves, and you remember how good he was. And this was all post-production on that one, I'm pretty sure. So very excited about that. Rob Wilkins says, maybe with Gulak and Bryan, it will set them up to be a tag team. They can go after the titles. Storylines between Miz and Bryan are always good. That's another reason I don't dislike this, because Bryan's like, okay, well, maybe we need to go back to the drawing board, and Gulak's like, let's help each other. They seem to like working with each other right now, and I'm all for that. DJ Cass says, I really understand your guys' point of view. I've been watching WrestleMania for 12 years, and it just breaks my heart, but you guys are still awesome. Hey, I mean, ultimately, I didn't think of COVID-19 one time in 4 hours. And that's rare these days. So I was happy to be covering this. And I was real happy to cover this women's tag title match. Jeez. Outside of the Del Rio spot. I'm just going to get that out of the way. They did the Del Rio spot. When somebody hangs on the ropes, it's stupid. It's stupid. Everything else I loved about this match, Alex. Jesus Christ. They were laying it in there. Asuka gets it to a ridiculous level with a crowd, without a crowd. My only other, I have like 2 other minor complaints. The camera cuts were real bad, including one after the purge where Nikki is going to pin Asuka, and they go 1, 2, and then there's this camera cut with obviously different audio where Kyrie lands. It's real weird, but there's some good spots, like the dive to the outside and Nikki firing up and ripping off her vest and doing a body press. There was the Asuka lock on Nikki, Twisted Bliss that broke that up, one of the best I've ever seen. The Kyrie spear, that ruled. Cole called a powerbomb and forearm a modified doomsday device. It is not, just because somebody is on somebody else's shoulders doesn't make that so, but Bliss pinned Zayn with the Twisted Bliss. Alex, how'd you feel about this one?
I mean, I thought the match quality was great. They did a great job of selling that it was Nikki who like kept them in it. Like she was fighting from underneath the entire time until Alexa got in and got the glory, of course. I'm still waiting for that whole thing to collapse under the weight of that whole thing. My only thing is that I feel like the Kabuki Warriors have been like especially Asuka, but them together have been one of the best acts on either brand. And I think that they've been outstanding. I think that the only reason that they haven't had put to good use of these tag titles is there's no competition in a tag division. And it's weird to have them say, okay, you haven't had a tag team title defense since December. Here's one out of the blue just because Alexa decides, hey, I want a title shot. And Nikki's like, yeah, me too. And then that's it. And then they have one, and then they win it. And now the tag titles are back on Alexa and Nikki, and they never defended them either. And I feel like now they've got the moment of bliss. So I'm expecting to see I'm expecting to see the tag titles is around the waists of two women sitting on director's chairs, sipping coffee, talking to somebody else. I don't foresee them being, defending champions, mainly because there aren't a lot of people to defend against, especially since now they're breaking up Mandy and Sonya. And I feel bad for Asuka and Kairi because they were so great together with those titles.
Warren, we have Anakin JMT saying the women's tag match beat tonight. I thought they had this was another indication of pace, which the tag title should be, but King Junie also says Asuka's the best empty arena wrestler there is. I think so. She keeps the volume up, Warren.
Well, I would even go as far as to say that both she and Kairi do it. It's just that Kairi, when she squeals, she sounds like a child. Yeah. You're wondering, my God, there's a toddler in the ring. And that's fantastic. I mean, and it's, the being very loud in for Kairi and Asuka in this match is it's very Japanese style, right? Because if you ever watch Stardom, there's no commentary. It's completely dead. So it's all about the women being as vociferous as possible. There's your word of the day, folks. And as far as the match went, I thought it was fantastic. They did a really good job making the arena feel big. I liked how at some point Kairi Sane was trying to play to the audience, and it was both adorable and weird at the same time. But I think we also have to point out here just how good Alexa Bliss has become, because we've known Alexa Bliss to always be a very good character, be very good, a very good heel, great promos, and an okay worker, good. But I think she has improved quite a bit. And tonight she really turned it up. She was pulling out stuff that we don't regularly see her do. It wasn't just like, pulling out all the greatest hits. There was variety in there. I thought she did a fantastic job, and all women worked super well together. This was the perfect match to open WrestleMania because they gave it time. It was it was loud for the match it was, and fast paced, lots of action. Great decision to start with this match.
Big thank you to Melissa Winchester, who says, keep up the great work, guys. We really appreciate you. DJ Cass says, you guys are awesome. Keep it up and be safe. A reminder, donate a super chat. We'll read your question or statement on the air. You can subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. That is the most direct way to support us. But if you don't want to do that, just visit FightfulWrestling.com for all your wrestling news. We have the best wrestling news team out there. Big thank you to Jeremy, Robert, Carlos, David for all the work they did tonight as well. Anakin says, $2 for one more vampire joke for more. And, ooh, what do you got for us?
I mean, with the pandemic and everything going around, I mean, I can't do it. I just end up coughing too much.
I Like Turtles says, I guess Alex is number one since he's the first one on the screen and Sean is number two. I love the Michael Cole video you uploaded. We're going to ignore that. So Elias defeated Baron Corbin. I would say the highlight of this match was Corbin soaking in the lack of a crowd. I saw a lot of people that were like, oh, he's acting like a crowd. And I'm like, no, I feel like it's him enjoying that there is no crowd there. That's what he should have done. But Elias shows up and breaks the guitar over Corbin's back. I really thought that Gronk was going to replace him, but he didn't. And this match was whatever. But this was an hour one of SmackDown on a throwaway episode match. The booking of it, the match in general, there was a terrible-looking clothesline. Elias did a modified drift away and won with a roll-up after Corbin got caught cheating, Warren. Why did we need this tonight?
Now, this is where my issues started with the show, because this was the moment where the empty arena felt empty. Because we had a really good 15-minute match before that. We all agreed that felt loud, had a lot of people, and it was involved and just felt really, really dynamic. Then you come down to Baron Corbin and Elias, a match that has no real interest, no build. Despite the fact that Baron Corbin threw him off the balcony thing, no one cared about this match. This was just as much as the first match was the perfect one to start off, this was the worst one to put in second. You should not have followed up with this. This was not good. This was pre-show filler. It just opened up all the glaring problems of an empty arena right here. Plus, Elias looked damn fine tonight for a guy who just about died, or at least,
yes.
That was being put over that he could have been crippled and so on. I don't know. I don't know if he's having that Rey Mysterio stem cell stuff, but holy smokes.
Anakin JMT says Ref Jess was the best part of the Corbin Elias. I do like that. She was like, mind your own business. I'll do my job.
If there's anything that comes out of this match, if they develop that relationship with Jessica and being like Corbin's Achilles heel, his foil, not unlike Jericho and Aubrey Edwards, I think that's still an interesting dynamic.
Alex,
Warren,
any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, you said, Warren, that this is where it really felt like an empty arena match watching these two guys wrestle. I think, to be honest, it would have felt like an empty arena match if they were doing it in front of 80,000 people too. I think it probably would have been just as silent.
It may have been.
This match was pointless. Didn't need to be here. At the same time, I really don't enjoy Baron Corbin. I understand that he's a great heel because he doesn't care about being cool and getting people to cheer him, even though he's a heel. I understand that, but I still don't like watching him work. But I do feel bad for him that dude, like, they did everything that they ever asked of him. And they finally do this thing where they do everything with Roman for months and months and months, carrying that guy. Like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this thing. The number one program on SmackDown is going to be you versus Roman Reigns. You're going to have match after match after match after match. A whole dog food fetish is going to be introduced for you. And then Roman's going to get shotgunned like immediately into the absolute top title picture, and you get a match with Elias with no build. Like, that sucks for him to have been in that position and doing everything asked of him, being humiliated like he was at the end of that feud with Roman, and then they had literally nothing for him going into Mania. That sucks.
Andrew Stark says, when will the Hall of Fame ceremony take place? They are tentatively targeting SummerSlam-ish, but they do not know yet. Another odd finish, but I loved the match. Becky Lynch retained over Shayna Baszler. She will pass the 1-year mark as Raw Women's Champion. This is the longest on Raw or SmackDown since Trish Stratus in 05-06. And oh, by the way, Trish took like 5 months off during that reign. So really, this is probably the longest Raw or SmackDown title reign, period. I mean, you have Asuka on NXT, but that's it. I was very interested in the pace, as we just lost Alex briefly. But They kept a really good pace, and I think that that's the reason why this match was so short, because they couldn't rock with the chin lock for 2 minutes, but I'm glad that they didn't. I think that this shows you that, hey, maybe you don't really need to always slow it down, quote unquote, just because that's the way that people did it for a long time. Because what I liked was Becky and Shayna going in there and slapping some ribs. You heard the strikes land. You saw them go in and out, disarmer, Kirifuda clutch, spine buster, double underhook suplex. There was a rock bottom on the apron. Somebody said, why do they always say hardest part of the ring? Well, because about 12 years ago, when moves would be done there, nobody would ever say it, and you would get old heads on shoot interviews saying, they never even talk about that being the hardest part of the ring. And now they do it all the time, because that's just what you got to do. But this match was super physical. Becky got slung into the table. Baszler applied the disarmer, but ended up connecting with a big knee. My only problem was the finish. A short match, sure. 8 or 9 minutes, probably. I'm okay with that. But Shayna Baszler is an accomplished catch-as-catch-can wrestler. One of the best at promoting the art of catch-as-catch-can wrestling. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's effectively what pro wrestling grew out of. But they started to fix the matches so they would be more interesting. You get pinned or you get submitted. Shayna doesn't watch her own tape, apparently. She always gets pinned with this when she gets pinned. She's got the Kirifuda clutch, and Becky rolls back into it. Now, I'm going to tell you from a technical aspect why I hate this so much. Because Shayna Baszler, accomplished catch wrestler, NXT champion for over a year, ran through the division less than a month ago, has her shoulders pinned to the mat. What's going on with her legs? Did you all notice anything about her legs? They just sat there. Yep. In wrestling, the reason why you hook a leg is so that person will not kick their legs, because when they kick their legs in the air, that rocks their shoulders up off the mat, and it breaks the count. So when Becky Lynch rolls backwards onto a Kirifuda clutch like that, and Shayna Baszler, who I know could kick out of that, who any wrestler on the roster should be able to kick out of that, has her legs free, it just looks so underwhelming. It looks less than. Like, I would have rather Becky roll through and apply a disarmer and tap her out, but I know that's not the gotcha type of thing. Ah, man. That was a little bit disappointing. Warren, how'd you feel about this and the finish?
I love the match. I really loved the match until we got to the finish. The finish, I'm unequivocally on the I hate it side. I really didn't like it. I'm glad you brought that little precision regarding the legs. I was like, Shayna should just release the hold. Yeah. You know, it's like at that point, should just let your arms go. That's all. And someone pointed out on Twitter, yeah, but she's lost like this before. I know.
That's the point.
That's the point. And like you said, she ran through the entire division to get to this point. I get it that it's a gotcha moment from Becky, but this is WrestleMania. It's WrestleMania. This is not where you continue your feuds. This is the we're ending a chapter. We're closing a book. We're opening up a new season. Give it whatever analogy you want. So, you know, I had people going, oh, well, at least their feud is going to continue. No shit, but it still could have continued in another way than this. This felt like a B pay-per-view finish. It felt, or at least like a good edition of Monday Night Raw finish, you know, kind of thing, where it just comes out of nowhere and you perpetuate the feud. But this is WrestleMania. Give me something big. Give me something to chew on. And as honestly, this is one of Shayna's best performances that I've seen in a long time. Becky as well. Like, they work quite well together. And I'm glad that their match together sort of erased the triple threat that they had at Survivor Series, which was so I'm glad moving forward they're going like this. But I got to tell you at the same time, quick matches, sure. But Baron Corbin and Elias got like over 9 minutes. They clocked in at about 8:20. I'm like, This is a match that people cared about. This is a match that had stakes, that had something to happen. So my problem is all within the conclusion of the match because the match itself ruled. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Eloquent says, why didn't they let Shayna do the joint manipulation to really sell Shayna having the upper hand? I think that's more of a crowd spot. I think that's one that you want to really get that ew reaction. Alex, do you think that this finish, before we get into your thoughts on the match, do you think this finish could be almost a callback to the oops, pow, surprise on Ronda last year?
I mean, I think that certainly there's a pattern for Becky. Mm-hmm. She wins her biggest like challenge matches, like the one that made her Becky 2 belts, and then this one defending it to make sure she got a year with the Raw Championship, defending it against what was supposed to be her biggest challenge yet. She won both of them with the roll-up.
Could you imagine? So could you imagine if that's the reason why they put this, that they showed the match on Monday Night Raw this week, just to make sure that they're like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, guys, this was planned out for over a year. This is how Becky's going to win again this year. My God.
Yeah. The thing about this that I said this on Sour Graps, the way that I certainly would have booked it, is Becky's been getting very, very overconfident. Like you don't go out and buy a semi truck and have somebody airbrush your face on it and drive it around everywhere unless you're an egomaniac.
Yeah.
So I thought she was getting overconfident, a little too big for her britches. There was that thing a few weeks ago where she was sitting at the commentary desk looking like Conor McGregor with a giant. She sold Jerry the King's crown, put it on her head. She got the deal with it, sunglasses, the big fur coat. She was getting too confident in herself. And I thought it was all set up for her to come into WrestleMania thinking, I got this. I'm Becky Balboa. And it was going to turn out to be Balboa versus Clubber Lang in the beginning of Rocky 3, where she just gets her ass handed to her. And she's like, whoa, I didn't know that this was going to happen to me. And then she's got to fight from underneath to win the rematch like Rocky does at the end of that movie. That would have been something to go for. But
it's funny that you mentioned that. Nikita Krylov fan texted me tonight and said they need to do a Rocky 3 storyline with Becky and Shayna. Hot dog. Aaron J's fan says, real question, does Becky keep the truck? No way, that's a rental. They've got 1 billion trucks, and you just know they did a rental for that one. WWE Intercontinental, actually, Tyler Drummond says, Becky also beat Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's title with a weirdish roll-up. Consistency, yeah. Stone Cold used to win them with a stunner in the middle of the ring, except for the Owen Hart match, but hey.
I mean, also, Shayna has lost two of her, 5 defeats in the history of being part of WWE. She's lost twice by somebody countering the Kirifuda clutch into that particular roll-up. You'd think by now she'd have a counter to that counter.
Look at Steve Austin. He lost to Bret Hart, and then the next time that happened, he let go of the hold. He learned. He evolved. That was the story. Sami Zayn defeated Daniel Bryan to retain the Intercontinental title. Zayn was killing time. I wasn't as in love with this as many were, but I did like it. Zayn begged, and it was Bryan kicking Zayn's ass the entire time, except when he worried about Gulak taking out the Artist Collective, which worked the first time around, didn't the second time around. He also teased letting Zayn get counted out, and then he went back and got him, but Zayn catches Bryan off the top rope with a boot, which was said to have been a haluva kick. I thought this was fine. I thought it was good, but it wasn't the Sami Zayn Daniel Bryan match that I was hoping for.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't El Generico against Bryan Danielson. It was Sami Zayn the manager against Daniel Bryan. Well, Alex.
Yeah, no, the thing about it, like they're really leaning into this whole Sami Zayn not really a wrestler anymore thing. Like he's wearing Dockers tucked into his wrestling boots. Like it looks like, not so much like, it looks like, something you'd wear to casual Fridays at the office, so, in the before times.
So I've had a plethora of gear during my days, and my wife knows what work pants and shoot pants are.
Yeah.
That was her main concern throughout this show. Are those work pants or shoot pants? And like for some, I'm like, oh, AJ's for sure wearing real jeans. But Sammy, I feel like he would want the freedom. You know what I mean? He would want to stretch.
But he hasn't had a haircut in forever.
Yeah.
He looks a little doughy. Like they're not like presenting him at all as like a real like a real wrestler. And
I think he
and
looks
this-
leaner now than he has in previous years, actually.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. Well, maybe I was looking at him from the
Maybe you
wrong
should stop
end.
fat shaming him, Alex.
Maybe I should. Coming from me, I know the deal. But the thing about it is that I want the old Sami Zayn. I want Sami Zayn who wrestles, who doesn't like cower in the corner. Like, I understand that's the character, but can at some point can we? If he's a heel, he has to be a chicken shit. I get it. It's WWE.
Yeah.
But can he wrestle one match with that fire of the old Sami Zayn that we loved? Like, finally, Sami Zayn gets to defend the Intercontinental title, the title he was made for at WrestleMania, and he has to do it A, as a heel, B, in front of nobody, and C, like, being a chicken shit the whole time. I felt like it was not necessarily the match Sami Zayn wanted to be as IC title holder at Mania.
Warren, any thoughts on this?
I was disappointed in this match, and here's the thing. As you know, I am a fan of the stall. I'm a big Larry Zbyszko 7-minute stall proponent. I believe in it. I think it's a great art tool in the arsenal of a good heel who knows how to do it. And I'm fine.
Or any former WWE wrestler who is working an indie show. And I mean, I don't mean like PWG. I mean your local flea market. They're spending a solid 7 minutes. Al Snow's going to chase somebody around the ring with the head. Shark Boy's going to try to bite your ass for 6 minutes. I saw Eugene threaten to shove his thumb up a guy's ass for 7 minutes. I get what you mean.
So that being said, the payoff from a good stall is, of course, babyface getting the upper hand finally, but also the heel mounting a comeback as well, so that the real comeback for the babyface can happen. And we just didn't get that from Sami. We just didn't. And it is an extreme crying shame that we are presented with this version of Sami Zayn where I'm convinced he can still work. We just don't know anymore. We honestly don't know. When he was on hiatus because of his injury, he was questioning who he was and his position in wrestling. Is it still for me? Hell, he even tweeted out to Hangman Page this week about when Hangman Page was realizing that ultimately wrestling is irrelevant or something like that. And Sami Zayn basically gave him a pat on the back and said, at least you're realizing it now this early in your career, pal, kind of thing. It'll make things easier moving on. I'm really disappointed because this was on a personal level, because this was one of the matches I was most looking forward this weekend, because it's Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan. They should have torn the house down. Instead, they lasted 20 seconds more than Elias and Baron Corbin, which is ridiculous because, again, this is a match. It was a title match. It had stakes and had proper buildup. It was one of the only matches that had actual proper buildup. The whole setup to this match felt like a Friday night SmackDown match right into the finish. It did not feel like a WrestleMania match with a WrestleMania outcome.
Guys, do us a solid. Share the link to this podcast on social media. That helps us a lot. But we are on podcast platforms everywhere. Spotify, iTunes, all over the place. If you want to do us a solid, a lot of our views and listens come from YouTube, so we don't get quite as many iTunes reviews as other shows. If you don't mind, go leave us a nice review if you think we deserve one over on iTunes, and that helps us out. Rob Wilkins says, more about this Eugene Thumb story. Giggity. I'll tell that on Select or something. We'll move that off the WrestleMania show, but people can get unique with these stalls. It's not just Larry Zbyszko walking around and doing, hey, hold on. but it does exist. SmackDown Tag Team Championship ladder match. John Morrison defeated Kofi Kingston and Jimmy Uso to retain the titles because Miz was pulled from this match. Woof. Throwback 27 says, the ladder match for the tag titles was a great finish, or the finish could have been better. Rather than having it end in a big thud with Morrison falling, the match itself could have been top 3 of the night. I love the match. I hated that things had to happen the way they did because it didn't make a ton of sense. I did like the idea that if if John Morrison lost the title, The Miz should have been like, oh, no, you just lost your title. I am now tag team champions with Jimmy Uso. So that's how we're going to do it. But it became very clear early in this match they didn't pause for takes, so to speak, because that was a question like, oh, will they do takes if they mess up a move? Nope. This had some awesome spots. Maybe the best Starship Pain I've ever seen in the corner on a ladder. Kofi dove from the ladder or the ropes into the ladder and got caught. Kofi threw a ladder into Jimmy Uso walking on a barricade. Naughty.
Into his shins, man. That's not okay.
Cut him off at the legs. Kofi almost snagged the top rope on a trust fall. But I thought this was John Morrison's best WWE performance. I was saying during this run, it might be period. I'm not a big John Morrison guy. I think tag teams are the right place for him. The Spanish Fly was a beauty. The Mushroom Stomp from Kofi, a beauty. And I give Morrison just as much credit for that as anybody. Another spot that I adored was Jimmy Uso ramming Kofi's face into the ladder. And then trash-talking him, Alex. We got to mic the Usos up like it's an NFL game.
They should be mic'd, like, even when we get back to having arenas, mic up some of these guys. At least so we can, like, in the replays, we can hear it very, very clearly. Like do that at least, because these guys were really, they added so much to it. You're right. The I guess it was a Starship Pain. Like, he's standing on the top of the ring post, and the Jimmy Uso is directly underneath him across the ladder, directly underneath him, and he's still able to do a full rotation and all those spins before landing it. Yep. Usually, you got to have distance in order to get all of those spins and rotations to get all of those before you land. That's insane how fast he got all those things.
I want to see him start wedging the person between the second and top rope when he does it now.
Why not?
Or the first or second rope, because he misses it every other time.
He goes too far. Yeah.
He goes too far. But the finish, Warren, I'm excited to see how you feel about this. They all get up there, and they all pull down the belts. But they don't hear a bell ring, so they're just like, let's keep fighting. Morrison is able to unhook them, but they knock him off, and he lands on the ladder, but he has both of the titles. I like this finish. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a great way to finish it. But how did you feel?
I feel a little differently. I think this is a fit. Yeah, it's all right. You know, I don't always have to agree. That's all right. This to me, this is another good match, like Becky and Shayna, that was marred by a bad finish. I didn't like it. And it's because it's a shame because they worked so hard. They worked in front of 70,000 people tonight. You know what I mean? Like they really went all out in their creativity in the spots. But the finish, man, you know what I really think the best finish would have had two of the guys climb the ladder, each one grabs a strap, and then the bell is rung. And then you end up with Morrison and Jimmy Uso, and they're like, oh, what do we do now kind of thing, you know? Or finally get that New Day split that everyone's been clamoring for the past decade or so. I don't know. And to me, the match was WrestleMania level. The finish was not. Again, it's something that's a little wonky, not decisive. It bothered me. It really did. And especially when you consider that they could have gone into a very creative territory. You come back on SmackDown and it's like, well, folks, two different teams won. We got to vacate the titles and have ourselves a tournament.
I don't want to vacate. I hate vacates.
But then, come on. You get into a tournament, but because the tournament then establishes the whole division. Then you can go back and start elevating other teams. Put the teams back into prominence. That's what you do. I look. There were a lot of possibilities here. I thought it was interesting, but I feel it was a cop-out.
You could have had a tournament, you know, get Gulak and Bryan together, actually have a tag team, all that kind of stuff. You could have made Cesaro and Nakamura back together again, all that kind of stuff. That's all fine. And that's a possibility as well. What I thought was odd is having three guys up there and they all grab part of it's because it's a tag title ladder match. The tag titles, both of them, are hooked. They're strapped around this apparatus, this gold bar thing that is then hooked to the rope from the top of the performance center. And when they're all up there grabbing it, Jimmy Uso reaches over and he's the one who unhooks it. So Jimmy Uso won. Like every tag team ladder match I've ever seen, it ends when one of the tag team gets up there and unhooks it. It doesn't end when he climbs back down the ladder, like, because that's what happens when Morrison fell. That's why he won, because he fell off the ladders while holding the belts. That's not how it works. Now, if it had been a singles match, then you could actually have had one guy unhook it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I'm saying for you is the opportunity that was missed was to have Kofi and Jimmy each grab a belt, and then I don't know, they don't really have a authority figure to do this, but he says, okay, Jimmy and Kofi, you're the tag champs now, and their top contenders will be Jay and Big E. And you have each, because we've already seen Kofi and Big E versus the Usos over and over and over again. To make them now work together opposite for like a couple of months, that could anchor SmackDown. Watching these guys, watching to see if Kofi and Jimmy can work together, if Big E and Jay can work together, that could be a lot of fun. Instead, oh well, I guess Morrison just won. I mean, there's opportunities to be creative and have a lot of fun with this. They just said, no, we're just gonna, it's status quo, please. We like the status quo.
Up next, Kevin Owens defeated Seth Rollins. This is a bit historic in the sense that unless something happens tomorrow and Rollins manages to pop up and win a match, this will be the first time that Rollins hasn't won a match at WrestleMania. Before you come up and say, he actually lost to Randall Keith Orton at WrestleMania several years ago. He also cashed in Money in the Bank and won a match that night. Jason Check says, hi, AP, SRS, and MWH. Thanks for covering WrestleMania. Hey, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Throwback bringing up Kofi's good line. I know you have heart, but I have to put you down. That was great. Alex, I completely agree with you. Mic them up, even if it's Jey Uso being a second and reacting to his brother getting kicked in the face.
Yes.
I love it. Show it during the replay. So this is hard-hitting and heavy. Owens and Rollins are like doing Falcon arrows on the aprons and hitting each other with heavy moves, swantons, pop-up power bombs. And then Rollins hits Owens with the bell for a DQ. Now, they just don't do DQs at WrestleMania anymore, and they shouldn't. You look through like the first 9 or 10 WrestleManias. Oh, boy. You would think Dairy Queen sponsored the damn thing. There's so much DQ on these shows. It is unbelievable. But not anymore. And Rollins goes to leave. I gotta say, there's a lot of naughty language on these shows these days. I'm waiting for this wrestling boom because there were tons of people on Twitter that swore that curse words, blood, and boobs were going to bring wrestling back to the promised land. But Kevin Owens has been a big culprit of this foul language, saying, those are the actions of a little bitch, not a god. He wants a no DQ match. No Dairy Queen, motherfucker. So I'm dying at Kevin Owens getting his ass ripped and him going, yeah, well, you're still always going to be a little bitch. This dude, so I'll say it all the time. He is so good at talking trash in his second language. I can't imagine how just bad he would tear people up in French.
Oh, I've seen him on indie shows when he was still working Quebec City and Montreal. He was awesome.
God. Do you speak French?
Oui, monsieur.
Okay, we're going to get Warren Hayes to translate some Kevin Owens French promos one day. My God.
Fightful Select.
There you
That's
go.
good.
Well, Owens keeps hitting Rollins with the ring bell, and the sound is amazing. But then the damnedest spot. He jumps off the WrestleMania sign through a table and wins with a stunner. Whoo, that visual of that dive, Warren. Man, Kevin Owens is something special. The dude is something special.
That's exact. I tweeted out, God bless Kevin Owens. That's because and he does this every year. He leaps off of something insane every year. And I feel he doesn't get half the credit he should. What I like the most, I think what was most dramatic about the dive, Sean, is that he got up there. And you know what? If there were 70,000 people, he'd milk the moment, right?
Yeah.
He'd stand there a bit and, gather your courage. Audience starts flipping out. Please don't die, chance, whatever. Then he does it. But here, there was nothing to hold him back. And this is why Kevin Owens is so great, because maybe a lesser wrestler would have stood there and lick his lips and do one of these and then dive. But Kevin Owens understands in the situation that he's in. He's like, there's no one. I'm going up here. He almost ran off. He got up and boop, boop, wah, and he just dove. We, as an audience, didn't have time to prepare for it. He's like, my God. And that's what I thought was most effective about it. That's what made it so bloody dramatic. That and the fact that he really landed on his side. And look, it was a gnarly fall, but it was also really, really good. To me, this is legendary, if only for that. Just the fact that he got up and he jumped off, it was all business.
Yeah, I love that spot. Remember, guys, when they first hung the right after Royal Rumble or whatever, they first hung that giant pirate WrestleMania sign up in all the arenas. We're like, somebody's gonna jump off of that shit at WrestleMania. It's gonna be nuts. And he actually did it. It wasn't hung way up in the rafters. It was just 15 feet up, but still somebody jumped off of that fucking WrestleMania
It is a shame we don't get the Paul Burchill rope because of the situation.
Yeah.
Because that seemed like a definite spot we could do. Hannah Moore says Seth's moaning was so uncomfortable. It was amazing.
It was so good. You remember that time where somebody body slammed Shane McMahon onto a bunch of plastic crates? And he was like, oh, for 15 seconds. It was good.
I love it.
Really good.
I do remember that.
Throwback says, with Owens winning this match, what's next for Seth after this? Could it lead to a Samoa Joe match for Seth? I think it could, Samoa Joe coming back, but I think that Seth is probably next on Edge's hit list. Because just a few years ago, Seth Rollins was holding his foot on Edge's neck, threatening to break his neck if he didn't get a match with John Cena. And I bet you the character Edge has not forgotten about that. And that seems logical and quite frankly, I don't think we need Seth to be coming off of a win for us to care about this based on the promo work we've seen out of Edge lately.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, guys, then it happened. The night that wrestling was revived won. They say you need to stay out of churches. You got to stay out of churches right now, but we're having a revival. WWE, they did it. They did it. Braun Strowman defeated Bill Goldberg to win the WWE Universal Championship. Anakin JMT says, Alex, who were Goldberg's guards there for?
I don't know. They certainly didn't look like they could protect him from anything, and they were definitely not keeping up social distancing regulations.
Yes.
They were right there next to him.
They were afraid Kevin Dunn was going.
If he catches it, he could die.
They were afraid Kevin Dunn was going to attack him because he's tired of hiding all of Bill Goldberg's shit. He's like, I'm sick of trying to shoot around all this. So he just tries to take Goldberg out. Oh, man. So here's the match. Goldberg hits a bunch of spears. Braun kicks out. There was no real attempt at a jackhammer, fortunately.
Thank God.
We were about to see a wide shot, and then there would be Baba Tunde in there, painted white, jackhammering. Jackhammering. Braun. And then the abrupt cut back in. That's how they were going to get around it. Oh, my God. Oh, Jesus. And then Braun Strowman just hits him with a bunch of power slams and beats him. And I'm cool with it. And we don't have to get into it. We'll save this for another show. The Fiend never needed the WWE Championship. Here's the thing. Not only did he not need the championship, he didn't need the match for the championship.
Right.
But what he didn't need more was Bill Goldberg beating him. And, I can disagree and not like the things that Braun Strowman has said socially lately. But this should have happened 2.5 years ago, Alex, and I know that you think so as well.
Oh, absolutely. This is long overdue. Here's the thing about it. The match booked perfectly. Quick, easy. Braun gets hit with a bunch of walking spears from, 2 steps, spear, 3 steps, spear at half speed because it's, Goldberg. But he kicks out of those things. Then power slam, running power slam, 1, 2, 3. That's it. That's exactly how this match should have been booked. You put him over strong, have him crush Goldberg, become the monster champion he should have been 2.5 or 3 years ago. But if you're gonna book him this strong, how in the world do you still not give us a reason why he's even in the match to begin with? Nothing. They just say he replaced Roman Reigns. But okay, fine. You don't want to tell us that Roman pulled out because of COVID fears. Don't tell us that. Why specifically was Braun chosen? Did Goldberg pick him? Say, I want to fight the biggest, baddest dude you got in the locker room to prove myself? Did Braun say, hey, you need a new partner. I'll be your Huckleberry. You can get these hands. Did they do any of that? Did they ever mention any of that? No. It's like people who don't follow the dirt sheets, who expected waking up this morning if they didn't watch SmackDown last night to see Roman Reigns versus Goldberg tonight. Come on.
And Triple H tried to say it would unfold in a unique way. It was
so unique.
Uniquely lazy. And that's even for them. Throwback says, Owens versus Seth match made the moment of the show start to go well till the Goldberg match. All I ask for is Owens, Braun, and a few others to get a push towards SummerSlam because of all this momentum building would be just for nothing. Thank God for Goldberg being put out. Don't bring him back. Here's the thing, Warren. I'm okay with him being back if it's a SummerSlam 2019 situation. I was there for that. Dolph Ziggler, Bill Goldberg, that was fun. That was a lot of fun, and there's no title there. I watched Chuck Liddell fight a year and a half ago, and I'd do it again. It's the freak show aspect of things. I'm okay with that, but I don't ever, Warren, need to see a title match with Bill Goldberg again.
No, we don't. I'm going to keep this short because there's not much to unpack here other than I'm glad that they decided to probably continue what they had intended for Roman, and that is to take the belt off of Goldberg. We had talked about it last night, Sean, on when we did our predictions. We were kind of afraid that they might go forward with Goldberg still hanging on to the title, considering the situation, the pandemic. I'm glad they didn't. I hope that they use Goldberg in a much more judicious way moving forward if they ever need to use him again, because, Goldberg is a guy, he takes wrestling very seriously. Hi, Ellie, if you guys think we take it seriously, Goldberg takes wrestling very seriously. He's a guy who is very concerned about his legacy. This does not help his legacy, or at least his title run here did not help his legacy. Honestly, should have just ended with the Brock feud a couple of years ago. That was perfectly booked from the moment he won it from Kevin Owens right till his loss. That was perfect, and that's all we needed. We didn't need this. Thank you, Bill. See you next time.
Yeah, this match went just over 2 minutes, and in a world of Braun Strowman versus Bill Goldberg, you should really be a Shawn Michaels versus a Bret Hart. You know what I'm saying? Because even though 2 minutes got the job done for Braun Strowman, even though just 1, 2, 3, 4 spears, I'm done. That's not going to satisfy everybody. Sometimes you have to pace. Sometimes you have to build to some high spots, and then you make the crowd explode. And fortunately, BlueChew.com and that code Fightful can help get that done. That's right. You can go to over an hour. I mean, even in overtime, you got commissioners running into your bedroom saying, "Nah, we gotta see a definitive finish." And you're like, "Hey, buddy, that's on my own time." Thanks to BlueChew.com and the increased sexual performance that I am gaining as a result of that. Now, this isn't just for people with a problem. It's for that extra confidence, for that moment, so to speak, that people will remember in the annals or annals of time, whichever it may be. Blue Chew has the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but let's be real, it's way better because you don't have to go to the doctor, you don't have to go to the pharmacy, and you need to be staying away from those places in this environment unless you have to go. It's prescribed online by Blue Chew-affiliated physicians, and it ships straight to your door by one of the heroes delivering mail these days. Big thank you to them. And hey, let me just say this. If your mailman likes to fuck, you can thank them with the performance that you uncorked with BlueChew.com. Maybe your mailman wants to handle your package with care, and you're like, nah, son. Nah, I can go all night. I deliver to the back door as well. I don't know what you're into. This is me paraphrasing what you might say to your mailman or woman, assuming you have a consensual sexual relationship with said mailman or mail woman. Use that code Fightful. You get your first shipment free. That code Fightful, that's very important. First shipment free. You just pay $5 shipping. They know that you're going to come back if they're giving it to you for free. Ah, man. Hit them up at Blue Chew on Twitter. Let them know you heard about them from us. This was a special moment. Special moment. Throwback 27 says, Mixed Match Challenge reference. Team Little Big going home with the gold tonight. Braun and Alexa have the titles. Yeah, I think that's like the only person Braun follows on Twitter, too, is Alexa. David Gold says, Jimmy Uso yelling, "Flatten your face like a pancake," made me fall off my couch laughing. He was amazing.
Yeah, I love that.
Amazing. JJ Lee said, "Signs are for pointing, not jumping." But let's talk about this main event. Oh boy, am I ready to talk about this. Like I said, I was told something out of the box is happening, something out of the box is happening. Undertaker and AJ Styles are main eventing WrestleMania this night. It counts. You can say, doesn't count, but nobody there. It doesn't really count. It counts. Undertaker has now main evented WrestleMania across 4 decades. And I had somebody very important in wrestling say, I hope Vince takes this as a sign because he can get a lot of years out of Undertaker like this. He can. I see you doing, Warren. You know who my mamaw loved to watch? Was it Charles Bronson that was like 80 still running around? Death Wish or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
10 to midnight. He was like 76. I'm just saying. I
love Undertaker. It's not the question. It's if he's used like he is tonight, and we're going to talk about it. It's fine. I just worry about Undertaker because I know how injured he is, how busted he is, and the guy has given so much for us. Like I would respect him. I would respect at any given moment where he decided to end it. The hero deserves his Valhalla at this point. Honestly, he has given everything to this business to entertain us, to be a pro wrestler. I'm good now. You know what I mean? But it's not like, oh, Undertaker, keep going. I don't want to see him in matches anymore. Au contraire, if they use him like they did tonight, that's fine. I just worry about the guy.
Well, that's what the person meant. We got a super chat saying the Boneyard match, Cena Fiend match is set up for failure. But Jamancito Gomez says, I hope Funhouse is just as good. I mean, Alex, this has set a very high standard. High standard for, and we don't even know if this will be like what we're seeing tomorrow.
The thing about this that I loved is that the I mean, final deletion between Hardy and Bray on that episode of Raw was interesting. Chair of wheels, mower of lawns, and everything like that. That was one thing. But like, if you compare what we saw tonight to the only other thing we have really, which is the House of Horrors match, I mean, this is far and beyond better. But it's still like I don't know if it's actually great. It's just so much better and so much more creative and so different than everything else we get from WWE that it feels like it's breaking brand new ground when it's like an episode of Lucha Underground. Like it's there's so much here that I love, and I love seeing these two guys in this. There was so much about this that I really, really enjoyed, but I don't know if I'm a prisoner of the moment and grading on a curve, and I'll have to see what they do with Bray, and as you say, now legitimate movie actor John Cena doing with hopefully letting Bray have a modicum of creative control in how this Firefly Funhouse match plays out. I do have faith that it could be just as good as the Boneyard match, if not even better, provided they book it right.
Abedin says, never thought I would see AJ Styles main event of WrestleMania. Hey, I'm there with you, man, but Vince McMahon has fallen in love with this guy over the last 4 years, and I guarantee you that he wishes that he had AJ Styles for the 15 years that preceded it, because it's just one of those guys that he had to see to understand.
Even in 2010, if he had brought him over in 2010 instead of 4 or 5 years later, it still would have been.
There are specifically two little guy gimmicks that Vince McMahon has had a fetish for a long time. Mighty Mouse and a pit bull. And he's tried to make both of those work a lot of times, and he's never found his Mighty Mouse, so to speak. He thought he did with Neville. He thought he did with a lot of people. He found his pit bull 4 years ago, and that's who he's stuck with AJ Styles. Throwback 27 said, the Boneyard match was done amazingly. Looks like WWE learned from the House of Horrors match. And he also says, was funny how Gronk was trying to get the 24/7 title and Owens diving off the sign. I want to send a big thank you to Throwback. He is always super generous to us, and we appreciate that so much, and we appreciate all of you that are donating super chats. But big thank you to Throwback, who is always very good to us. Super chats help pay for our podcasters, our writers, our freelancers, all that good stuff. So I want to thank you all so much for that, but let's get into it. There's an Undertaker entrance in the graveyard, but AJ Styles pops out. And I just love how his music cues when the casket opens. But then we get the return of the Biker Taker, and I'm all for it. Because, Alex, it had to be Biker Taker here.
Had to be. Yeah, no, he can't be.
He was Charles Bronson.
He was Charles Bronson. But, I mean, he already did the Biker Taker promo to the camera on SmackDown. He was obviously Biker Taker. Even when he showed up for the contract signing that actually wasn't a contract signing, because, as I said, they changed what the match was after the contract signing. So it needed to be. We're owed a contract signing is what I'm saying. But I loved all of this. Like him riding the bike up, Metallica playing. That was so awesome. And like the cinematic shot from overhead as the bike peels into the cemetery with the headlights and the fog. God, this is awesome. This, when Vince says, we make movies, I'm like, no, you don't. Not normally, but tonight proved that you can if you want. So why not do this more often? This was inspired compared to what you normally throw out there, which is, like, as we talk about, you don't even figure out a reason why the guy is in the Universal title match that you then book him to win. So, like, compare that level of laziness to the level of setting this up, putting it all together, the shots that you have to, like, put together with lights and all that stuff. They have a laser light show with Taker's logo and flames coming out of the dip. Like, that is so much more intricate and created with love as opposed to meh, which is everything else.
So, Undertaker Goldberged himself on the window. And by that, I mean he put his hand through it. My wife watched that, and she's like, oh, my God, he's bleeding. And I'm like, this is all Hollywood.
Yeah.
And she still kind of didn't believe me, but I was like, man, she's been around wrestling a lot. Like, she's worked a couple matches in her days. And I'm like, if it got her, it got somebody else that's just watching this. But I was like, it's not real. AJ gets thrown onto a windshield and gets his ass beat before getting tossed into a grave. And then Gallows and Anderson show up. WrestleMania main eventers. And then there's a lot of druids. And Taker disposes of all of them. AJ pops up. And Taker breaks his finger, which AJ's like, "Oh, damn it, you broke my finger!" The music added a lot to this.
Oh, it so did.
I remember when I was playing Here Comes the Pain with my cousin, and I was like, man, this is the most realistic wrestling game I've seen. He goes, oh, yeah, they play music in the background? Now I can call him up, and he'll say, oh, you had a show with Alex, my boy Alex, huh? And I'll say, hey, by the way, dipshit, they did play music in the back of your favorite wrestler's match. How about it?
Yeah.
I like this.
My favorite part about the early part of this of the match was when it switched from Taker being in control to AJ being in control. It switched on leaves in the face. Like AJ threw leaves in Taker's face, and the leaves were too much. He couldn't bear the leaves.
Yes.
It was just excellent. It's so campy.
AJ Styles calls Taker a broken down old bitch. Warren, were you surprised by this use of terminology on this show?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. But I mean, look, there's an empty arena. You have to fill it up with something, even though you're not getting the reaction. You know, you can. I really liked the Boneyard match. I thought it was fantastic. At this point, if we're going to really scrape into it, they're nitpicks because I really did enjoy it. I love the production. I loved how everything was handled. There was trash talking, which was essential and necessary, like AJ Styles did. But I thought Undertaker. I was listening to Undertaker. I was like, Undertaker doesn't have a good trash talk game because all he was saying was like, "All right, you want some? All right, you think you can handle it? Come get some more. You want to get? Come here, boy." And I'm like, dude, I mean, AJ was calling you bitch, man. And all you can do is. Yeah, is that all you got? Yeah, come on, son. I'm like, like I said, it's nitpicky. All right, I'm this didn't completely destroy my appreciation of the event because it ruled. It was a lot of fun.
I think it works for Undertaker being the old man that doesn't have to say a lot. Like Warren, I don't know if you know this, but he's Charles Bronson. So
yeah, he gets.
Styles cracks Taker with a shovel and pushes him into the grave, but when Styles gets on his John Deere, Taker appears behind him, and he explodes a building. Then he beats up the whole club on a roof. He threw Gallows off, Tombstone Carl on top of it, and chokeslammed Styles on a piece of wood. This is where I thought the trash talk kind of picked up. He's like, AJ, What'd you say? You called me old. What's going on? How you doing? Styles apologizes.
Please don't bury me. Please don't bury me.
I did like that Taker, Alex, kind of mixed in compliments. He's like, yeah, you're tougher than I thought.
Yeah, tougher than I thought. You know, I've given a lot of guys a lot of beatings. You're taking this beating pretty well. I thought that was good. I also loved, we didn't talk about this, where Gallows and Anderson have their own fleet of druids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? When those druids tried to unionize back in '99, Taker really should have let him unionize because now it's all coming home to roost, and he has to fight through all these guys who used to work for him back in the day, and he still owes them money, and they've come to collect. That's the only thing I could figure out. I loved it. It was fantastic. And he was like, all right, you guys coming on? Come on. And he's like doing the thing where like each of like where there's the hero and there's a whole group of foot soldiers around him and they each come at him one at a time. Taker's like, okay, let's do that. One for you. Here's one to your gut. I'm gonna pick you up and throw you into the other guy. It's just wonderful. Just a fantastic use of the old aging action star. Like, you tell me Taker doesn't look like basically like what Steven Seagal looks like now doing his action movies, where just like one guy comes at him, pa-pow, boom, that's it.
Neck snap
Fantastic.
here and there.
Yeah.
T. Smitty says, I like that Taker and AJ wore street clothes. The best explanation I ever saw for why wrestlers wear street clothes in street fights that are wrestling matches is Elijah Burke on Impact commentary, he was like, gear is expensive and jeans are a lot cheaper. So that's why you do it. You don't want it torn up by barbed wire and glass and all that stuff. Taker Sparta kicks Styles in the grave and buries him. There's a headstone with Styles' name on it. And Taker rides off. This was just a lot of fun. When we got on the air, we were all a little bit giddy getting on the air. And that's not... We cover Wednesdays together. And still, it's not quite like that. This is a lot of fun. Warren, any final thoughts on this match?
It was fun. It's just as simple as that. Like I said, if you really want to get into it, you can get a little nitpicky. But sometimes just the overall feeling that you get at the end is usually indicative of how things went. I enjoyed this. This was fun. This is when I talk about a couple of times when I talk about WWE being a billion-dollar corporation with a lot of resources at its fingertips, blah blah blah, and that I expect them to do better. This is on the level of what I expect from them. Made me realize when they talked about doing WrestleMania at different locations, I was expecting other matches during the evening to be in different locations. Maybe not as elaborate as what we saw here, but a little more production to them. And I think that perhaps as outside viewers, outside of the smart fan bubble, maybe a lot of fans who were watching this were a little thrown off by the empty arena at some point, and maybe a more produced match within the mid card would have broken things up a little bit, sort of take you out of the empty environment with something a little more produced, like maybe. Hey, the Elias and Baron Corbin match could have definitely benefited from a little Hollywood magic. I think it would have broken things up, would have made the event feel a little less empty at times. That said, as an experiment tonight, I think it was pretty good. I liked it. Can't wait for tomorrow.
And we're in this unique situation where every single person, not just that's watching, but in the world, outside of like maybe an isolated tribe or something, knows what's going on and why this venue is empty. Like every single person knows why nobody is there. So they're very, very lucky. Hannah Moore says, nah, don't look over there. I'm here. Your ribs hurt, don't they? Throwback, our very generous friend says, if I get hired by Fightful, I just do it for fun. Thank you guys for the show. Hey, we will talk because there ain't no amount of money we can pay you that will be enough. Let me tell you, buddy, we appreciate you. Alex, any final thoughts on this match in WrestleMania?
I mean, as you said, Warren, with a company that has the resources that WWE has, the fact that they don't give us something on this level with more regularity than once ever, like, I mean, they could do this, a couple of times a year, like figure out a way to, like, this felt like I was watching the climactic fight scene of a WWE Studios movie and they shot it and they figured out how to put it together in the span of basically a week, 10 days or whatever. Like they put it together lickety split basically, and it came out great. So you can do this. It doesn't have to be when your backs are against the wall and when there's a pandemic forcing you to have empty arena matches. Your alternative is let's do this in a boneyard. You can do this whenever. Yeah. Please do, because you can see. I haven't seen one person on social media who's like, that sucked. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have watched AJ Styles versus Undertaker in an empty arena. Like, nobody thinks that. So, like, do this more often. You're going to get more praise from people. And I will be willing to forgive a lot of other things when I get to see something like this on your show.
If this is your first time here, leave a thumbs up, subscribe. Fightful.com covers wrestling, MMA, and boxing. But if you just want the wrestling stuff, FightfulWrestling.com. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of interviews at this point from WWE wrestlers, Impact, AEW, Ring of Honor, independent wrestlers. We have a lot of backstage news, like as much as anybody at this point. We have a great resources section that keeps you up to date with contracts, injuries, TV ratings, anything that you can think of, we cover at FightfulWrestling.com. FightfulSelect.com is our premium service. That's how you can help us effectively bankroll all these stories we're doing. And bankroll shows like this, it really helps us. And I want to thank all of you who chose to be here. I know there's a lot of people that are going live after this show tonight, and I want to thank you all that are here with us, and I hope that you all join us tomorrow night. And if you say, well, gee, Sean, what's on tomorrow night? The true main event, the people's main event, Otis versus Dolph Ziggler is on tomorrow night. I can't wait for Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. How about this? Liv Morgan versus Natalya, and I'll say this. There are a lot of people backstage in WWE that are very happy that Liv Morgan is getting a match here. I'll have more on that soon. Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley, Raw Tag Team Championships, Street Profits versus Austin Theory and Angel Garza, NXT Women's Championship, Rhea Ripley against the Royal Rumble winner Charlotte Flair, WWE Championship, Brock Lesnar defends against Drew McIntyre, Edge versus Randy Orton in a last man standing match. This is Edge's first singles match in almost a decade. You have a SmackDown Women's Elimination match Women's Championship Elimination match. Bayley, Lacey Evans, Tamina, Naomi, and Sasha Banks. And then a Firefly Funhouse match with John Cena versus The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. You all can find Warren Hayes at youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. And at Mr. Warren Hayes on Twitter. You can find Alex at Alex Sour Graps. And you can check out his Raw and SmackDown Sour Graps review on FightfulSelect.com. But thank you all so much. And thank you to our great news team. Thank you to Kyler for doing social media. I appreciate all of you who watch and all of you who made this possible. Until next time. What are you doing, Warren? Or Alex? What?
I'm doing my impression of AJ Styles.
Oh, my God. We're out.